I'm making a multiplayer action RPG in Unity. I've made a few small projects in the past, and I made some RPG prototypes before, but this is the first time I'm making a much larger project. The vision that I have is Wizard of Legends styled combat and art with old school MapleStory progression and systems. This is a pretty ambitious game in general, so I'm not making any promises or really, trying too hard. This is just kind of like something I'm doing for fun, and I'm just taking my time with it. So in the last video, I covered just the core combat, and that's all that was pretty much done at that point. So now I expanded on that with the ability system. So we have passive and active abilities now. And then I also created the attribute system. So whenever you level up, you get attribute points, and you could spend those points to increase your health, your damage, your attack speed, or your cooldown reduction. The whole system is pretty unbalanced right now. You get way too OP, way too early, but I'll save the balance for later on once I start to, get these systems in place, then I can start fine-tuning them later. So just like MapleStory, you're gonna start out as a beginner, and at level 10, you'll be able to pick your class, either a warrior, an archer, a magician, or a rogue. So since we start out as a beginner, that's the first skill tree that I created. So the first skill is going to be for Fury. This is when you attack, it's the bar underneath your health bar, and every attack that lands successfully will grant Fury. When you have 100 Fury, you have 5 stacks of attack speed. So I added a debuff system to the game, so you can have buffs that modify your stats, like cooldown reduction, damage, health, movement speed, things like that. And they can stack up to 25 times, and each stack modifies it by like a percentage. So I try to get it similar to how Guild Wars 2 handles their buffs and debuffs. So you'll find a lot of similarities there. Then the first active skill is your basic attack. After that, you can pick one of the 2 offensive abilities. So the first one, you can throw like a projectile. Eventually, once I add the CC system, it will stun. And then the second offensive ability you can pick will be like an AoE slash, and this one will also stun. The second passive ability on this tree will heal you when you drop below a certain amount of health. And then the last ability that you get at level 8 is a mobility spell, so it kind of like dashes you forward and slashes. I added some indicators to show you kind of like the outline of the hitbox of where this ability will land. This one looks like a paddle, and I don't like it, and so I'll probably change it later, but it was actually a little bit more complicated than I anticipated, so it's good enough for now. So then I got started on the enemy abilities. Starting off with the snail, we have just a regular basic attack. We have a dash attack that will slow the player if the player steps inside of it, and it's smart enough to not slow any other enemies. It'll only slow players. And then we have a shell throw attack that can be used from a long range, and it'll do like a little knockback as well when it lands. Then I added the hermit crab. The hermit crab has a very similar basic attack. It will jump into the air and land on you, and then its last ability will be like a kind of like a multiple attack kind of flurry thing where it stands still. It gains a protection buff, but basically protection will just increase your armor for a short period of time. I spent some time working on a simple enemy pathfinding script. I don't want to use A-star pathfinding or really anything too expensive. I really just wanted a very simple pathfinding script, and basically what I'm able to do is just kind of shoot a ray cast and see if there's anything blocking the path, and then if not, just choose a different direction, at least when it comes to the wander state. When it comes to the chase state, I have a little bit more of a complicated system where it shoots out a couple different rays in a cone, and then it's able to pick an unblocked direction, right? If it'll show up in red if it's one of those blocked directions, and it'll pick one of those unblocked directions and then move in that path and then check again. And then so that way it's kind of actually able to curve around like obstacles and stuff. So it's actually kind of cool, but it's really bad. It gets stuck all the time. So I will probably revisit that in the near future. But again, I think for now, it's good enough. So the first area that we're going to start in is a beach themed area. I like each biome to have their own theme to it. The next area is going to be a garden theme. So there's going to be a lot of plants and like enemies that you would like find in a garden. So focusing on the beach themed map, I started working on the huts a little bit more, and I was able to, you can actually go inside the buildings now, which is really cool. It's really exciting. And also I was able to add a very simple save system that will kind of save, you know, a little bit of your progression. It's not perfect and it doesn't save everything right now, but eventually it will. But yeah, it just saves it locally to player prefs. So if you clear your browser cookies, it'll delete your character. Maybe later I'll do something more long term, but for now, it's totally fine. And that's a gist of everything that I worked on over the last month. There is still a lot for me to do. I still need to do like a in combat, out of combat system, and then get the player to regenerate their health and the enemies to regenerate their health once they've been outside of combat. I need a CC system, you know, crowd control like stuns, silences, disarms, knockback, and maybe hopefully knock up if I can figure out a way on how to do that. That'd be pretty sweet. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, anywhere you'd like to see this game go, feel free to let me know. Drop a comment, and I would be more than happy to, you know, hear out any suggestions and listen to any feedback. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.